Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. That is TowerGate day number 1028. 1028, Wednesday. January the 29th, 2020. Hey, that's my sister's birthday. I'll have to give her a call. Alrighty, thank you so much for tuning in. Not a whole lot of Spygate news going on today. In fact, practically nothing going on with Spygate today. But there's a lot of political news, election news, impeachment news. So that's mostly what we're going to talk about today. But before I get into too much of that, I just want to mention I've been watching this Elise Stefanik now for quite some time. In the past, certainly the past year and a half, I've been watching her. I'm really impressed with Elise Stefanik. She's tough. She's smart. She takes no crap. And if I were to look out across the political spectrum and try to guess who might be someone who could be possibly the first female president, I would look at Elise Stefanik. She needs to work on that resume a little bit. She's a member of Congress. She would probably need to be coming from maybe a senator or a governor or something like that. But she's still pretty young. So I just really like her. I like the way that she handles herself in hostile situations. She doesn't really lose her cool. You can tell she gets mad, but she stays on point on argument. And she's very, very good at reasoning and getting her points out there. So, yeah, she's very, very solid. I consider her one of the top people, along with Meadows and Jordan and those guys. She is definitely a rising star in the Republican Party, and I really hope the Republican Party is paying attention to her. She's pretty solid. Now, getting into some of the impeachment stuff that's going on today. Well, we have a lot of different mixed reports coming out today. I looked at probably 20 different news sites, and you're getting a lot of different mixed reporting about things. But it appears at this point that we have McConnell, Twitch McConnell, saying that he does not have the votes to block witnesses. And, of course, that probably has to do with the usual suspects that we talked about yesterday. That would be, of course, Susan Blinky Collins, along with Mitwit, Murkowski, and now, of course, Lamar Alexander seems to have joined that group. And there's probably more. Who knows? But that's a real shame, but it doesn't surprise us. And after the arguments have finished, I see no reason why you need to have witnesses. All the facts are out there. Ukraine got the aid. They never had to launch an investigation. There was never any pressure. Everyone has said that. There is no victim here. It's a cut and dry case. Unfortunately, we do have these rhinos and these neocons who are allowing this to be politicized, and they are playing into the Democrats' hands, and it's very, very sad. And the only thing I can say is that I hope that the voters in those areas burn up the phone lines. Now, I don't know, maybe in their districts, maybe they're popular. Maybe people support what they're doing. Maybe that's why they're doing it. So, I don't know. It's just one of those things that we have to deal with in politics, that we do have. Nat, it's driving me crazy. We do have those people in the party that are real frustrating to deal with. And, again, like I said yesterday, it's, if this were an actual legitimate impeachment hearing and there were real issues, I could understand it. But this is total political BS, and it just drives me nuts that these so-called Republicans are willing to play ball with what they know is a completely sham impeachment. And it just drives you nuts. And these people need to be punished. McConnell has ways of doing that. And the only thing I can hope for is that these people get challenged by real Republicans, real conservatives, libertarians, what have you, and that maybe we can knock these people off because, they continue time after time after time to be a problem, and they always allow themselves to be played, and it's pure politics, and that's what bothers you the most. So, anyway, I don't know whether or not they have the votes to block the witnesses or not. McConnell is saying he doesn't have the votes to block the witnesses, and there's all sorts of deal-making and things going on, but it's really a shame. We're just going to have to try to see what happens here. But at the same time, when you're talking about people like Collins and Romney and Murkowski, and possibly now we're hearing the name Alexander. That will be Lamar Alexander. What you have to wonder here is, do they feel the same way about having the whistleblower testify? How about the bug-eyed fool? He's a fact witness. How about people on his staff? How about the Bidens? How about Chalupa? So, that's not been made clear whether or not they just want the Democrat witnesses or whether they want Republican witnesses. And could you imagine that these four would vote for witnesses that the Democrats want, but then not vote for witnesses Trump wants? I mean, I could actually see that happening with these people, these specific ones that I just mentioned. And that's what's so frustrating about this, is we literally have traitors, people on our team who are supposed to be on our team who apparently are the MVPs for the other team. And it's all based on fraud, all based on a hoax, all based on BS. And they know it. That is what makes it so frustrating. But we also had Lindsey Graham making a statement that he thinks that they've got 51 votes to end it. So that means him and McConnell are obviously talking to different people. And I'm not sure who to believe. Again, we're getting these mixed reports. Seems to depend on who you ask. But we're going to find out, I assume by Friday, we're going to know, because I guess that's when they're going to hold a vote for witnesses, maybe before that. And we're going to find out, and hopefully we'll find out the names of the traitors if they continue down the path that they're suggesting they're going to go down. Collins and Romney have both made public statements now saying they support having Bolton testify. And if I'm Trump, I slap executive order on him, executive privilege. And I drag this thing out until the election if I can. And in the meantime, I bring as many other witnesses in as I can, such as the whistleblower, the Bidens. And if not, I go ahead and run this show all the way to November. Let's see who wins. I think people will get really sick of it really quick. That's what I think. If they want to play this game, I'd run the gauntlet with them. I absolutely would. Call them. Call their bluff. We even have Turn In Your Guns, Mr. and Mrs. America, Dianne Feinstein, saying first that she was leaning towards acquittal, then later changing her statement or modifying her statement. So you can see the type of pressure coming from the left. Now, this was probably just a way to tweak Pelosi, would be my guess. I don't think she actually meant it. But there's an issue between Turn In Your Guns, Mr. and Mrs. America Feinstein, and Pelosi. They're both from California. I think there's a power struggle. Maybe there's jealousies going on there. But there's something going on with Pelosi and Feinstein. They have never actually been friends. It's been going on for a very long time. I mean, you go back to I remember back in the 90s, they would find themselves at odds with one another. So I don't know if maybe Pelosi at one time thought about challenging Feinstein for a seat or running for Senate or something. I'm not sure what went down there, but clearly there's some bad blood between Turn In Your Guns, Mr. and Mrs. America Feinstein, and Pelosi galore. I'm not that interested enough to dig into the backstory, but it's pretty obvious that there's an issue there. But anyway, with Turn In Your Guns, Mr. and Mrs. America Feinstein, she comes out and says that she is leaning towards acquittal, but then is pressured to change her statement later. So again, I think we're just going to have to wait. I think it's still too early to make a decision. I think there might be a bit of a trial balloon thing going on here, where they're kind of throwing out trial balloons just to see the type of feedback they get to help them make the decision they're going to make. It's totally political for these type of people. Now, people who are based on principle, it's not a problem. They know exactly what they're going to do based on principle. And even if they're in a purple state and they have to take the heat for it from some people on the other side or from, liberal Republicans, this is why you're elected to the Senate. This is why you're in the Senate. That's what the people with the principles are supposed to be. We expect there's going to be people in the House that are crazy. Our founders knew that. That's why they created a Senate. These are supposed to be the adults in the room. But when you see people like this, Collins, Romney, Murkowski, Alexander, people like that, they are not acting on principle. It's political. And that is what really gets your goat. Now, I don't know how many of you saw this recent video of Quid Pro Quo Joe, Burisma Joe Biden, with this little video segment that I saw on YouTube. But it's pretty disturbing. And basically, if you haven't seen it, what's going on here is this man comes up to Joe Biden, and he's a very nice man. He's not angry. He's not sarcastic. He's not, vicious. He's very nice. And he's actually complimentary of Biden. He comes up to him, and they're in pretty close conversation. And the guy looks at Biden and says, "Hey, if you become the nominee, I'm absolutely going to support you. But as far as in the primary, I have some issues, with the gas pipelines." And he's talking about the fact that Biden has not been on board to, stop doing the gas pipelines, the energy thing. Biden's not totally on board 100% with shutting down the gas pipelines and all that kind of thing. Now, there's a perfectly good way to explain yourself if you're Joe Biden. There's very many good arguments for why you would want to do that, and that's the way he should have responded. But that's not how he responded. He responded by getting really nasty and very agitated with this really nice man. And even he had to come back after Biden got testy with him. Even he had to come back and say, "Hey, whoa, I said I would support you in the general. It's just some of these things with the gas pipelines and things like that I'm not a big fan of." And Biden was just like, "Well, look, and vote for someone else." And the whole time, Biden's constantly putting his hands on this guy. Got his hands on his chest, tapping his chest. And I don't know about, if it were me, I would say, "Hey, man, don't take your hands off me." Okay? But Biden, he's for whatever reason, he can't talk to someone without putting his hands on them. And I would have a problem with that. But he really freaks out. And it's not the first time we've seen him do this, where he says, "Well, then go vote for someone else." And the guy is kind of shell-shocked. He kind of looks at Biden, his eyes kind of open up, and he's like, "Oh, well, I said I would support you in the general, whatever." And Biden's like, "No, go vote for someone else." It's like, this guy is a horrible politician. As a politician, you cannot get agitated when people ask you questions. You have to explain your position very nicely, very calmly. All he had to say was, "Look, the world has energy needs. Someone has to produce that energy. I know you think it's harming the environment, but we do it cleaner than anyone else. And if we're not producing that energy, someone else will produce that energy. And I can assure you, if it's China or Russia, they will not be producing that energy nearly as cleanly as we do, or efficiently. So if you really care about the environment, then you will support the U.S. actually doing more of the energy production, because we do it better and cleaner than anybody else. And the fact is, there is no alternative source for the energy needs that the world has, which continue to grow. And right now, fossil fuels are what we use. We have to find a way to make them cleaner and work better, while we hopefully one day will find some clean renewable energy. But right now, it really isn't there. So if you're asking me if I'm going to take a vote a month from now, a year from now, on whether or not to shut down the pipelines, no. And that's just one. There's many other ways to approach that, but this is not what Biden does. He cannot handle being challenged and then give a response. He gets really irked, and then he just gets nasty. "Oh, then don't vote for me. Then go vote for someone else." This guy's crazy. And as I was watching him in this, it just sort of dawned on me. I don't know if any of you had this feeling watching Burisma Joe, but now that I've seen that kind of behavior from him now about half a dozen times, it's starting to almost look like that he really does not want to be the nominee. It's starting to look like Biden really doesn't want to win and might be hoping for a quick exit. Now, he's obviously very frustrated and angry because he reads the paper every day and all he hears is about how Bernie is now leading in Iowa. Bernie's leading in New Hampshire. Biden's falling back to fourth. He can see it's all slipping away, and he doesn't know how to handle it. And he's getting very, very agitated and very angry. He's already in it, so to bail out now would be an embarrassment. to bail out at any time now would be an embarrassment. At any time that Biden has to walk away, he is going to be embarrassed, especially losing to Bernie. But I'm getting the feeling that he really does not want to win the nomination. And I think it has to do with the fact that he's starting to realize what many of us realized a long time ago, which is that the energy in the Democratic Party is not with the so-called neoliberals, so-called centrists, whatever you want to call them. The energy is with the socialists. And I think he's starting to realize that that is the case. And I think he's wondering now why in the world he let himself get into this. Why in the world didn't the smart people tell him, hey, Joe, you don't want to jump in the thing this year, man. The entire party's been taken over by far leftists. They're not going to support you. And you're going to look bad. You have no way of winning. Plus, you know, your kids, your family, you've been involved in a lot of corrupt stuff. You got a lot of money. You're older than dirt. Go away. Don't throw your hat in the ring. He should have listened to Barack Hussein Obama and other people who were telling him, stay out of this race. But for whatever reason, he felt like he had to get in it. Maybe he thought he could win it. But I am more convinced than ever that Biden is simply not going to get it done. And with the latest polls coming out, it's looking like Bernie is going to win the nomination. It's, you know, unless someone comes along who can stop Bernie, he's going to win the nomination. And the only other person I see out there is going to be the Rotten Reverend Clinton, but she would either have to enter the race before Super Tuesday, or she would have to hope for a brokered convention. But even if she jumps in, I'm not so sure she can knock down Bernie. I think Bernie Sanders may very well be the Democrat nominee. And I mean, the Democratic Party, I mean, the National Committee, they can ask Bernie at the convention. They can say, yeah, well, you won all the votes. You got all the electors. You got all. But you know what? We've had a meeting with the heads of the DNC. We're just not going to do it. Yeah, sorry, Bernie. We know it's going to anger a lot of our, you know, voters or whatever, but we're just not going to do it. We're going to put in someone who's not a socialist. I mean, somebody's got to make a call. And that somebody is probably Tom Perez. Now, he won't make that call alone. It's going to take a committee. But I wouldn't want to be on that committee deciding what to do about this problem they have. And it's a big, big problem, as you'll see as we move further into this video. Of course, Trump had a massive rally in New Jersey last night. People were out there 24 hours prior. Huge, massive crowds out there in cold weather. Didn't seem to mind. They were having the time of their life. This is in New Jersey. New Jersey. What if Trump flips New Jersey? Wow, that would be incredible. But it just shows you that his support is actually getting stronger. He's going up in the polls. His support is getting stronger, and the money is rolling in. No matter what they try to do to President Trump, he seems to win. He turns negatives into positives. He's a, you know, he's a dynamo. I don't know what more to say. He's the most incredible individual I think I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen anybody who could take what he takes on a daily basis and still stay focused on the policies that he wants to put in place. He's taken arrows from every direction, and I think most politicians would be hiding under their desk, you know, hoping the lawyers would defend them and their acolytes would be out there defending him. Trump is a one-man show. He defends himself on Twitter. He takes everything they throw at him and he gives it back twice as hard. Nothing seems to put this guy down. He seems to get stronger. He seems to feed on it. It's just extraordinary. I've never seen anything quite like it. We are truly living in extraordinary times. And we're witnessing it right here. It's just amazing. I'm sure you guys are enjoying it just as much as I am. Now, getting back to the Rotten Reverend Clinton, she was in an interview yesterday. And the interview said, ask her if she feels the urge to go up against Trump. Is she feeling the urge to go up against Trump? And she says, yeah, I certainly feel the urge because I feel the 2016 election was really odd, an odd time, and an odd outcome. And then she goes on to talk about how bad Bernie is and how his people go after women, even though she's the one who was attacking Tulsi, a female Democrat candidate. She's the one attacking the female Democrat candidate. I mean, you know, Bernie is in a legitimate debate with Warren over issues. Hillary's just sitting on the sidelines throwing bombs at a candidate, female candidate, for no particular reason. She's not even in the game, supposedly. But here's what's even more funny about this, is that right after the Rotten Reverend Clinton came out and made those comments, well, nobody likes Bernie. Nobody likes Bernie. Nobody likes to work with Bernie. Nobody can work with Bernie. And he's his people, or treat women very badly in the Democratic Party. So Rasmussen goes out and does a poll, and they find that not only is Bernie far more popular than the Rotten Reverend Clinton, but he's even more popular than the Rotten Reverend Clinton with women. Bernie Sanders has more support from women than the Rotten Reverend Clinton, and his likability factor is much higher. I think it's like 12 points, much higher than the Rotten Reverend Clinton's. So here she is out there saying, yeah, well, nobody likes Bernie. Well, apparently, a lot more people like Bernie than like her, including women. I mean, she just gets owned constantly. This woman is completely devoid of any political intuitions. I mean, she gets shot down constantly. Everything she says gets debunked or rebuked. But she has got a very, very distorted view of herself and what people think of her. And it must be because she has a lot of yes men around her who just constantly call her on the phone and kiss her ass and tell her what she wants to hear. Because if she ever were to get into some power or get into some deal, they want to be around her so they might be able to get in on the graft as well. I mean, that's all it could possibly be, because these people can't possibly like her. She's one of the most unlikable people you could ever meet. Well, we had Veritas Part 4 yesterday. 2 more commies. These are from South Carolina, which is a bit disturbing. And, of course, these guys are talking about, militancy. They're talking about the destruction of property as an eventual means to the end that you're trying to accomplish. The one admits that they do attract truly radical people in the Sanders campaign. You have another one saying, yeah, well, we got lots of Marxists, Leninists, and anarchists in the Bernie movement. You have another one talking about, we're making plans for extreme action. They're talking about the fact that if they don't win the election, that it's not going to stop there, that they are going to, take it to another level and they'll have to try something else. They're talking about violence. They're talking about property damage. They're talking about acting up. This is what they're talking about. They want to abolish private property owners and the whole 9 yards. These guys are just nuts, and they're very young guys. Now, my initial thoughts on all this is, well, first of all, these guys are literally cinder fellas. These are cinder fellas. These are snowflakes. And when I think about these guys, and I watch them on these videos, and I try to picture them coming into southwestern Ohio, where I live, largely farm country, middle class, working class people, tough people live here, tough people. And I'm just wondering how long these snowflakes would last in even a small community like where I live, kind of a farming community. I mean, these kids would just get their asses beat to death. And I don't think they know what they're getting themselves into. I really don't. I don't think that, I think they don't understand how, people around the rest of the country feel about, their freedom and this type of thing. They think that we're weak or something. I really don't understand it. But, these people that think like this, they're headed for a hell of an ass whooping if they ever try to do what they talk about wanting to do. And these are the people that hate guns. Probably never fired a weapon in their life. I mean, everyone out here where I live is armed to the teeth. And a lot of ex-military people, they know how to shoot out here. They know how to shoot, they know how to fish, they know how to hunt, they know how to carve you up with a pocket knife. I mean, these are tough people. And these snowflakes, they wouldn't last any time, even in a small town like mine. They could have us outnumbered 5-1 and they would still get their ass kicked. So, I mean, I think these people have a very diluted sort of idea of what red country, Trump country, is really all about. I don't think they quite get it. But if they ever try to live out these fantasies, they are going to find out it's not what they think. Believe me. And another thing that I think about is these are such suckers that they actually believe that Bernie is the real deal. Bernie is not the real deal. First of all, he sold them out in 2016. Why do they think he's the real deal? He got down on his hands and knees, kissed the rotten Reverend Clinton's ass, took the payoff, endorsed her, and then didn't stand up at all for his supporters when they were trying to file this lawsuit to get their money back and get compensation for how they were screwed. Bernie was nowhere to be found. He won't stand up for himself nor his supporters. And they think this is their leader? Their leader's a coward. He has no backbone, and neither do they. They have no idea. Bernie's in it for the money. Bernie's working on his retirement plan, and that is his donor list. When Bernie leaves the Senate, he will cash out his donor list for probably $10 to $20 million. That's why Bernie's in the race. That's why he was in the race in 2016. He's found that there's a lot of suckers who will send him money and sign up on his websites. These people who sign up do not realize that when they sign up and donate money, they become a commodity. They become Bernie's retirement plan. I mean, they don't realize this. They do not even realize that their dear leader has absolutely no intention whatsoever of leading them anywhere. Bernie's going to retire and sell them out, their donor lists. He wouldn't lead them into anything, I mean, these people are seriously deluded. That's why I call them cinder fellas. They got a lot of problems. They really do. And they have a distorted view of history. That's for sure. Wonder where they got it. Then we have the head of the Sanders campaign, Nina Turner, who I actually kind of like Nina Turner. I mean, I've seen her interviewed a lot of times. She doesn't strike me as being a crazy radical nutcase left-winger like some of the people Veritas has been interviewing. I think she's just your typical liberal Democrat. And I don't know why she still has faith in Bernie. He sold her out in 2016. But she had this statement. She came out and made a statement that if the DNC believes it's going to get away in 2020 with what it did in 2016, it has another think coming. Well, the DNC is going to do what the DNC wants to do. The DNC isn't afraid of Bernie Sanders. They're not afraid of him. They can buy him off just like that. What's it going to take to make you go away, Bernie? 10 mil. Give me 10 mil. I'll walk. Bernie, you can buy Bernie off at the drop of a hat. And all those supporters, yeah, they can go ahead and riot, and I expect they will. They can try to turn the convention inside out. What did they do last time? They wouldn't even allow them into the convention. They put out ads on Craigslist and filled the seats that were supposed to be Bernie Sanders delegates and supporters. They wouldn't let them in. And they brought in the people from Craigslist and paid them to sit there and hold a Hillary sign. They'll do the same thing. What are they going to do about it? Nothing. They're going to riot out in the streets? Go ahead. They'll call the cops. The cops will come in and give you a beatdown and take you to jail. That's what you'll get. I don't think these people quite understand what they're dealing with here. They're living in a fantasy world. They're snowflakes. They don't know the hard realities of when push comes to shove and what happens when you challenge power, especially if you decide to go physical. You decide to go physical against power, you better be prepared to go the entire game. Because once you've made that first move, I can assure you the power will respond back to you, and they'll beat you down unless you're prepared to go all the way. And these snowflakes are living in a dream world. They have no understanding of what they're getting themselves into with this rhetoric that they're throwing out there. And maybe they feel when they say these things, they believe it. But I don't think they've had a reality yet that's something they can relate to, like having people shoot at you for one, being in a real fight with a real person who really can throw down. Taking punches, taking blows, getting kicked around. I don't think they've had any of these experiences. Most of these kids probably never been in an altercation in their life. They've never operated a firearm in their life. They've never had anything like that. They've never been through any tough, challenging, difficult, hard situation. Most of these people are total snowflakes. They have absolutely no idea what they're talking themselves into. But I'm telling you, they can go ahead and do all this. They can go to the DNC and they can raise hell, and I expect that it's going to be a shit show. We all know that. And they can go ahead and act up, and they have every right. I mean, they screw Bernie. I mean, I guess they have every right to do it. I'm not saying they don't. I'd feel the same way. I mean, I was a Ron Paul supporter. We got the same type of treatment. We were fighting mad too. But, you know, if you're not ready to engage, you should not engage. And these people are far from ready to engage. You got to work another angle. But the talk, the rhetoric that they're putting out, they don't have the ass to back it up. And if they continue doing this, and if they think they're just going to get a bunch of, you know, Bernie Sanders crazy supporters at the DNC to protest and stuff, all they're going to get is arrested and beat down. So let you know, have at it. Knock yourself out. You know, it's you know, I don't care. I'm going to enjoy it. I'll be sitting back laughing at them. But no, Bernie's a coward. Bernie is not a leader. Bernie is too weak to be a leader. Trump's a leader. Trump is a leader. And they talk about this revolution. Well, the revolution happened and they missed it. It was the Trump revolution. And that's what's moving. And it's a populist, nationalist revolution that's changing the world right now. They're completely oblivious. They think there's a socialist revolution going on. They're like 100 years too late and half a continent away from where it actually occurred. They think it's the Bolshevik Revolution. No, that was in, what, 1917? It was over 100 years ago, and it was on the other side of the planet. They're in the wrong place in history and in the wrong real estate. It definitely, we're not going to have a Bolshevik Revolution in the United States of America anytime soon, I can assure you that. But none of this stops Mr. Potato Head, John Brennan, from going out on PMSNBC with Chuck Todd and saying that Trump, they're talking about the State of the Union, and they're saying, and Brennan is saying that Trump giving the State of the Union would be embarrassing and destructive to the image of the United States. Know what's destructive to the image of the United States is the deep state trying to carry out a coup against the sitting president. That's what's destructive to the image of the U.S. What's embarrassing is that an asshat like Mr. Potato Head would even be able to go on MSNBC right now and make these stupid comments when he actually should be in an orange jumpsuit. This guy is completely clueless. He's absolutely clueless. And again, as I was saying earlier, I just saw a poll not more than probably 15, 20 minutes before I did this video, looking at some polls over at RCP and looking at some polls in a couple key states. And I saw this story yesterday that Bernie has got a big lead in Utah. So I'm reading on this story, and then there's a link. I click on that, and it's a story on how Bernie has opened up a fairly large lead in California. Man, if Bernie wins New Hampshire, Iowa, and then wins California, it's over for Biden. Hell, it might be over for Biden before South Carolina. He might not make it to California. California votes early this year. If Bernie wins California, Iowa, and New Hampshire, Biden's done. He can't recover from that. He'll be too far down. Bernie will have momentum, and then you'll get to Super Tuesday, which is what, March 3rd, with all that momentum. And God knows what condition Biden will be in by then, with all the stuff going on with Burisma and Hunter Biden and all this other stuff, his whole family. I mean, I can see this thing coming a mile away. Biden, as I've been saying for a long time, is not going to be the man. I'm almost certain of that. It's looking more and more like it's going to be Bernie. And unless they can pull some sort of a trick at the DNC convention, like, you know, rolling the rotten Reverend Clinton out again, unless they can do something like, and she's probably more unpopular than Biden. Can you imagine how angry the Democrats will be if they roll out the rotten Reverend to put her in there in place of Bernie? Yeah, there's a lot of problems there. I see a lot of problems. We have Doug Collins. He's going to be running for the Senate in Georgia. It's very, very good. I would love to have Doug Collins in the Senate in Georgia. And we even get one last thing on Biden. I don't know if this is a press release or a public statement. I'm not sure where and how he went about saying this, but it's being reported that Biden suggested that he would like Michelle Maybell to be his vice president. Michelle Obama. Can you imagine how insulting that is for the Obamas? Michelle's probably like, what does he mean? I'd be his vice president. His vice president. I want to be Biden's vice president. I could throw my hat in the ring right now and run circles around him. This dude is delusional, man. Quid pro quo Joe is out to lunch. He's gone, man. This guy's mind is gone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. Have a good night. See you. Bye.